Now, earlier today, U.S. fighter jets carried out airstrikes against Iran-linked facilities in Syria. The move was a retaliation for a slew of missile and drone attacks against U.S. personnel in the region. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin saying the strikes are, quote, separate and distinct from the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas, but signal escalating tension in the Middle East. Joining us now with more is Yahoo Finance's own Rick Newman. Rick?
Hey guys, well, this is not a huge escalation, the type that people worry about when they talk about a wider Middle Eastern war, but it is definitely a small escalation. There are about 2,500 American troops on what you might call permanent station over in the Middle East. They're doing counterterrorism operations and other things like that. And these forces, these militias affiliated and backed with Iran and backed by Iran, have been dropping bombs on some of the bases where the forces are based, particularly an airfield in Iraq and I think another one in Syria. So U.S. fired back. They say they attacked some weapons and ammunition facilities in eastern Syria, and they're trying to send the message, hey, knock it off. Stop trying to harass American troops. So we will see where this goes. I mean, this sort of thing has happened before, but I guess Iran decided, let's just see if we can swat the Americans a little bit and provoke them. So this just adds to the tensions about how much worse this whole situation could become in the Middle East.
And Rick, when we talk about what that escalation could look like, this comes amid the fact that we have a new speaker in the House. We know that there's a number of policy deadlines here on the table, just about a month to go until that government funding deadline. But of course, one of the key issues that Congress is debating right now is funding to Ukraine and funding also to Israel. How do you see the new speaker, I guess, going about or approaching this, given the fact that he has had some words of criticism for the Biden administration?
Well, he actually is on record as a member who voted as opposing any additional aid to Ukraine. But he seems to be changing his story a little bit. And I think it's an example, when you're, sort of in the back of the pack and nobody really notices your vote and the legislation is going to pass anyway. Some members of Congress just they vote in a certain way just as posturing for whatever they think their constituents back home want. So now he's in a leadership position. Mike Johnson has indicated, well, maybe he is open to more funding for Ukraine after all. But what he wants to do is separate aid for Israel and aid for Ukraine. Biden wants to put that all in one big bill, basically, so he can get the maximum amount for all of his priorities under the guise, if you will, of it's all emergency spending. So Biden's asking for $106 billion all told. Most of that is for Ukraine. I think about $14 billion is for Israel, and there's some other stuff in there. I would not be surprised if that gets whittled down. The big question is, how much is Ukraine going to get? I think Israel's going to get a good chunk of money. The question is, how much will Ukraine get? And this is going to actually test Mike Johnson's leadership skills, because in the Senate, which Democrats control, there is basically bipartisan agreement. Let's give Ukraine whatever it needs. Many Republicans feel that way, as do most of the Democrats. There are a lot of Democrats in the House and many Republicans who also feel the same way. So we will see how Mike Johnson manages to negotiate with these very seasoned politicians in the Senate and also in the White House.
All right, Rick Newman, as always, thanks so much for breaking down the latest coming out of D.C. Have a good weekend, Rick.
Bye, guys.